Page 54, Jumpin Jazz Cat. Good Lord, let's talk about this. On the previous pages, they're introducing you to a scale. Finally, I'm a big believer in scales. See, in the past, they've just used pentascales, which is just a 5-note scale, and it could be any 5 notes close together. They don't have to be next to each other, but they should be close together. Within a one-hand position, basically. Well, with a full scale, and the first one they show you is C major, and we usually start with C major because the key of C major has no sharps or flats in it. It's just the white keys on the piano. It's easy to see. The key of C major just uses from C to C the white notes. I mean, it could be anywhere. You can go anywhere on it doesn't matter where it is. The point is that it uses the white keys and we go from C to C. Those are the notes in the scale. Okay. I have scale videos on all the major and minor scales, and I would prefer you approach these scales as I teach it in the scale video. Okay. There's a playlist called Musical Scales. Bookmark that or save that link to that playlist because it's got all the scales in it. So you can go back to it when you need to, and you just find the scale you need and go with it. Do the beginner part, because I got beginner, intermediate, and advanced in there. Please don't go I hesitate putting them all together like that, but it just made it easier for me to just do it all. But please just stick with the beginner portion of that. All you're doing there is you're learning the scale. I have a trill exercise. You learn how to do the thumb and go over and under the thumb and all that junk. It's important. And do the accents, everything I discuss in that scale video. Please do it. There's also a video for introduction to how I do the scales. You want to see that first, and then the C major scale. Well, on pages 52 and 53, they discuss it in their method of doing it. See, when I do scales, I don't use written music. I want you focusing on the hands and the keyboard. You'll see the scales in music when you see them, but if you can physically do them, you'll find playing them in music is a piece of cake. Yeah. Let's just talk briefly about the thumb, because it can be a problem. You see on the 5 fingers you have, assuming you have all 5 fingers, these fingers work this way and the thumb goes this way. It's sideways. Well, we have to think about that on piano because it affects things. I'm in a position here and the thumb can move around. And if you'll relax, this works well. If you tense up, the thumb won't move very far. You won't have much motion to it. If you're not used to using the thumb, you may not have much motion at first, but you'll find in time in doing this, you'll get more motion. Forget the scale for a moment. And I'm going to just here, and then I'm going to reach the thumb under and play the E. We've done this sort of before because you go over. Well, I'm just going to use 1 and 2 to get the idea of this. Connect the notes. Now, you don't have to go that fast. The idea is you get the feeling, the physical feeling of using the thumb like this. Reaching under 1 key. Don't move the hand around or twist or nothing. Try and hold it. Just reach with the thumb. Now, I do want to point out here that not all teachers teach this technique. There's different techniques. Some teachers don't teach moving the thumb under at all. When you need to do that, just move the hand up. So you're here and you just move the hand up. I don't teach that. I teach moving the thumb and connecting it with here. And when you got that sort of okay, then do the 3rd finger. The 3rd finger. You have to reach a little further, but it's doable. It's not that hard. It's just doable. Relax. And you can just go up and down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Plus going down, thumb, and come up 3rd finger over. Just relax. Your hand will move. You don't have to do all this nonsense. Relax. It comes. When you've done it a million years, it gets easier. But the point is, if you'll do what I'm explaining in the trill exercises and the accents and so forth in the scale video, this will help you get the feeling of using your thumb like this. And it's important you do. We need to in piano. They give you other things on these pages, and if you have questions, you're welcome to ask me about them. But really all I'm interested in is learning the C major scale, 1 octave up and down, played with control, and keep it slow. We don't go fast on this yet. Speed will come later. You do it each time or each day when you practice. See, I practice multiple times a day for short periods. So I do the scale the first time. I practice during the day, I do the scale, whatever key I'm in, and I don't do it then the rest of the day, because I've done, you don't have to spend a lot of time on scales. Just a little bit, just run through it. The important part is doing it regular day after day after day after day. That's what's important, but don't spend a long time, just a few minutes, just up scale. Play it once or twice up and down, close enough, and go on. Of course, remember at the beginning, you're doing the trill exercise and the other stuff first. Now let's talk about what this cat is doing over here on pages 54 and 55. It's both pages. I guess so. It makes sense. Duh. Treble and bass clef. Now we look at the key signature. If they're going to start giving you key signatures, we'll look at it. I don't think they're really giving you key signatures yet. But you got to keep in mind that this key of C major doesn't have any sharps or flats in it. So they do have a key signature here because it's empty. The key signature goes in the staff between the clef sign and the time signature. That spread that out and then put sharps and flats in there as they need to for the key signature. Well, C major didn't have any, so it's empty. So we could say, yeah, check the key signature. Right. It's one of the things I do in learning a piece of music. I check the key signature, but this book isn't presenting key signatures yet. It just drives me nuts. 4/4 time, and we got eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, hopefully. And we got some syncopation going on. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to kind of take this both hands at the same time here because for the most part it's just one hand to the other playing. Because normally I'd like to take it just one hand at a time, make sure I got everything. Well, the first measure, you'll learn to recognize it in the music. That first measure is just a C major scale. So if you're going to do the C major scale going down, that's a piece of cake. You sight read that kind of stuff. So the right hand is starting here, and the left hand when it comes in is here. So here to start, and it's just 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's just a C major scale going down, and then the left hand 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And if that rhythm is not working here in the second measure, take out the ties and play all the notes. 1 and 2, because those, they're just eighth notes until you get to the end. It's a quarter note. All eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and then a quarter note. And once you can do that, you put the tie in. Just hang on to the note. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You get this rhythm all over the place. Notes are different. And then at the end of measure 4, they tell you to jump. That's sweet. Don't jump. Okay. Just stay right there. You're okay. What you need to do is they want you to move up here. Your hand has to come up here because you can do the C major scale again. So just come up here. Just lift up and move. Don't lift up real high. No jumping here. Just up here. And you do that again. Pretty repetitious. Measure 9. Now we get the scale, but we're starting on a G. And that's okay. You don't have to start on C every time. The point is, it's the notes within the C major scale. So that's it. But you're down here. You have a rest. You come down here and it's going up. It's the same fingering as what you would do for the scale. You come up to the thumb and the third finger up. That's the fingering you'd use for C major scale. If you started on C, you would do that and come up third finger. Well, that's the fingering we're using. So this is the beauty of knowing a scale, is that you can use that physical feeling to play other stuff. And that's what we're doing here on measure 9. It's just, you don't have to go that fast, but and then measure 11, it's both hands together. It's a G and an E, and then an F sharp and a D sharp. Just here, half steps. And measure 12. You have a here in the right hand. And the left hand has an F and a G. Make sure you lift up the F and a G in the left hand when you play the half note in the right hand. So starting on the G, just going up, third finger, and then the C major scale. And then the right hand carries it on. Rest. Huh? So just make sure all the eighth notes are even. On measures, what, 13 and 14? Even. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 1 and 2. All even all the way through. Keep it as slow as you gotta go, don't care, but no hesitations anywhere. And once you got the notes and the fingering and all that, the rhythm, then we'll take a look at the articulation. A lot of this, they don't give you anything, like at the beginning. Well, I'm going to suggest you go ahead and connect everything you can. Unless you get a staccato or a rest, go ahead and just connect everything you can. So connect all this together. Now, second measure, there's an accent on it. And a staccato. So it's... See? I'm on the key and I'm bouncing off. It's syncopated. Because we would expect that's ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, but we play it quick, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. And when we play syncopated notes, most of the time we're going to accent. They don't even have to give you an accent. As part of interpreting the music, you just put in an accent because it's syncopated. And then you have to bounce off when you come up here. And when you get to measure 9, now all of a sudden they're giving you slur lines. You don't need them, you connect them anyway. Then lift up. Here, measure 12. Staccato, that stays down until I play the half note. Here. Now they're giving you slur line. I don't understand this on measures 13 and 14. No, I would connect all that together. All these, all the way to the staccatos. I would suggest you slur those eighth notes together. But if you want to lift up between them, you see they're not phrases, they're slurs, and you don't always lift up before and after a slur. You have to take it as what's needed. What does the music need? What interpretation are you after? It's interpreting the music. Maybe you would prefer to lift up. You want to interpret it that way. That's fine. I prefer them connected. Next, we can add the dynamics. Louds and soft. Mezzo forte, whatever you think moderately loud is. That makes the accent note a loud note. And you're staying there pretty much until measure 9 when you come down to moderately soft, mezzo piano, whatever you think that is. Then back up to moderately loud, mezzo forte, measure 11. Back down to moderately soft. Then you get a hairpin there at measure 14 and 15. You're going to go back up to moderately loud. Don't get moderately loud to the F sharp. So you're here. Right there. So each one is just gradually getting louder here. You don't do it note at a time, maybe a beat or two at a time. You feel 1, 2, louder, louder, you're there. Something like that. And then the last with accent is a little louder. It depends on the music as far as your crescendos and how quick do you do it. Is it a note at a time, or is it a measure at a time, or is it a beat at a time? Maybe it's a phrase at a time. It depends on how long your crescendo or diminuendo is as to how it's approached. Here we get a measure and a half to go from moderately soft to moderately loud. That's not much difference. So I would only take it maybe a beat or two. Let's say every 2 beats, I'll go up a notch every 2 beats. So at measure 14, I'm starting that moderately soft because that's where the arrow starts, the hairpin. You don't immediately get loud at the beginning of a hairpin. You start right where you're at, and now a little louder, now. So that was like every 2 beats there on this piece, in this case. You have to experiment with it. Speed, allegro, well, good luck with that. The 8th notes have to be even and controlled, so what can you do? Yeah. Don't take it my allegro, you take it your allegro. But it's the feeling, it's not the beat, it's the feeling of it. So all these 8th notes will slow it down a little bit. So somewhere in there. That's what I would feel it, but if you can't play that fast, I mean, I've been doing scales forever. You know, I actually enjoyed them very much, but I didn't learn to do scales correctly until I was in college, and it's unfortunate it took that long. I just didn't have a teacher who seemed to understand how to teach the silly things until I got in college. And I used the approach that I learned in college in my videos because I know it works. It worked for me. Now, one more thing, and that is at the bottom of page 15, at the end of the line there above the stabs, you see a DC al fine. It's Italian. It's not fine, it's fine. It means end. And they give you the explanation for it. I'm too lazy to say da capo al fine. I just say DC. That's the abbreviation. DC means go to the beginning. And that's across the board. That's when you see a DC, you go to the beginning. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Go straight to the beginning. That's it. Al fine means go to fine. So then you got to go find where fine is. Well, usually you can look for the thin and thick bar line because that's supposed to be at the end of the piece, wherever it is. And if you look at the end of measure 8, you see the fine and you see the double bars. I think that's an error. It's my opinion. The double bars shouldn't be a double bar. It should be a thin and thick bar line there because that's where the piece ends. That's the symbol for the end of a piece. Doesn't matter. We're going to end there. So what we do is we go through and we play the whole thing through, and then we go back to the beginning and we play the first 4 lines again. So it's really 4 lines longer than it looks. Let's play it together very slowly and double check all the notes and rhythms. Not going to do any dynamics. We're going to go really super slow. We're just checking notes and rhythms here, but I will go ahead and do the accents and the staccatos. So I'll give us 4 counts, and let's come in very slowly. Now because the 8th note's all over the place, I put the metronome on 8th notes, so it's beating 8th notes. So yeah, this is going to be really slow. Well, I think it's slow. You might think it's too fast. I don't know. This is assuming you know how to play it. You've learned it, you're doing the scale, you have some control over it, then you can try this. Otherwise, this won't work. 1 and 2 and ready and go and. Rest and. and 4 and 4 and. And 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and to the beginning. And and 1 and 2 and 3 and rest and. There is a duet part for this. I'd like to try that, and you play this piece we just did. I'm going to speed it up a little, but I'm not going to take it full speed yet, because you need time on these scales to learn these things. You can always come back later and try it again a little faster. I need you to go up an octave on the keyboard again, so just pretend the middle C instead of here, middle C is up here on the keyboard. So instead of here, you're up here. Play it all up here. I'll give us 4 counts. 1, 2, ready and go, and 1,